to keep you safe. And don't forget about their Healthy Car Special. That's an oil change, tire rotation, and more for just $39.95. Big O Tires also offers services on alignments, shocks, struts, batteries, and more, all with multiple financing options to fit any budget. Make an appointment right now at BigOTires.com. Big O Tires, the team you trust.
The NASCAR Cup Series.
The Great American Race is underway. Logano and Michael McDowell on the front row.
Heads to Daytona International Speed.
You got 1 minute.
Basically,
10-4.
the entire pack is collected.
Where one of the sport's greatest traditions continues.
Racing down the short straightaway in the Daytona 500. Blocking on and they're crashing.
It's the Daytona 500.
Coverage begins Sunday at 12:30 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Every weekday beginning at 6 a.m., Stephen St. John kicks off your morning with New Day with SSJ. Then at 10, Get in the Zone with Jason Anderson. And at 2, listen to the program with Soren Petro, Kansas City's favorite sports talk. Only on America's largest all-sports radio station, Sports Radio 810 WHB, the power of sports. KCFX HD4 Harrisonville, K279PI Kansas City, 103.7 FM. Sports Radio 810 WHB, Kansas City.
America's largest all-sports radio station presents the number one motorsports show for over 2 decades, Track Talk, brought to you by Rod-In Supply and the Power Ride Midwest Lightning Sprints. Here are the racing boys, Scott Traylor and Kirk Elliott.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Todd Surprise running the show, Jay running the show back at Sports Radio 810 WHB, and Kirk Elliott, my partner for 25 years. Kirk, 25 years we've been together.
How about that?
How about that?
Hey, you know, it was 25 years ago this weekend, that bad crash that involved Jeff Bodine in that truck race at Daytona. Remember
Right.
that? 25 years ago. I was sitting in the upper deck at Daytona. They got new grandstands now.
You
Wasn't
felt
same
the fire,
grandstand.
didn't you?
I felt the heat off that fire. That's one of the worst crashes I've ever seen in my life. And Jeff Bodine survived that.
He walked away.
He didn't walk away. They carried him off the ambulance, but I remember I had my binoculars on him when they had him on the stretcher, and he raised his arm up. And I said, he's all right. But that was 25 years ago when that occurred. So can you believe that?
I can't believe it.
Time flies, man. Speaking of the trucks, it was a good race last night. I went to bed thinking Parker Kligerman was the winner, and then I wake up this morning and find out, no, he was not.
He
got
was
DQ'd.
disqualified for being too low, wasn't he?
The right height inspection at the end of the race, both corners in the back were too low, they said. You know, that's not a good look. You know, and I'm not going to complain about it because I cried for years that NASCAR would still allow the win to occur even though they failed post. NASCAR did that forever. You know, they would let them keep the win and then penalize them some other way. I hated that.
Right.
So I'm not going to sit here this morning and say that was wrong that he got DQ'd. If you fail the post-race inspection, you should be DQ'd.
Right.
You didn't really win the race. So I'm not going to complain about that, but still, you know, it's never a good look when your race winner gets DQ'd, but we've seen it happen in other forms of racing. I remember the most recent example of a high-profile nature is when Ricky Thornton Jr. got DQ'd at the Show Me 100 a couple of years ago. You remember that when he got up into the wall in one of the brackets. That they failed the droop test, and Devin Moran was handed the win. So it happens, but still, it's kind of a bummer because Parker Kligerman was so excited at the end of that race. You know, he's a pit reporter for NBC,
right?
You know, so we get to know Parker Kligerman as a pit reporter on NBC.
I think he does a great job, don't you?
Yeah, he does a great job. So it was pretty thrilling to see him excited for that win last night, only to having it taken away from him. So Corey Heim is the winner.
Yeah, it wasn't
And,
like he did anything wrong either. I mean, it was a ride height type thing. It wasn't like
the driver didn't do anything
yeah,
wrong.
it wasn't like he went down below the double line or anything that you can't do at Daytona. It was a ride height issue, so he
Yeah.
did everything right. So yeah, that kind of sucks for him because, like you said, he got in this ride and you wasn't expecting him to win. I mean, I don't think anybody was
Right.
probably
He was just
expecting
in the
him.
right place, the right time. I thought Gio Ruggiero was going to win. That was his first ever race at Daytona.
Man, that kid looked
and,
good.
He's driving full time in the Truck Series, and I thought he was going to win there for a little bit.
You can find all that information on racingboys.com
Yep.
as well.
Chris Carrier was the crew chief of that 75 truck driven by Parker Kligerman. He'd been around forever. Chris Carrier has been around for 35 years. He's been a crew chief in a number of levels of racing. He's won before. He's worked with Parker Kligerman in the past with Henderson Motorsports. They've won a couple of races in the Truck Series over the last decade. So Chris Carrier is a veteran crew chief, and to allow something like that to happen is pretty surprising, but it did. And now Corey Hine, who didn't get to celebrate in Victory Lane last night, is the winner at Daytona. So there you go. It was a good race. I thought it was the best truck race at Daytona we've seen in a number of years. Remember last year it was a crash fest. I mean, it got
Yeah, it was hard
just
to watch.
ridiculously crazy a year ago, if you remember. Just too many crashes. Last night actually was a pretty good race.
The trucks usually pile them up, don't they?
They do. And they had their pile-ups last night. All races, well, we'll see it in the Xfinity race today. We'll certainly see it in the ARCA race today. So there are pile-ups, but I thought it was kept pretty much to a minimum as far as the trucks go last night. There was some pretty heavy-duty crashes, but that goes with the territory, but it wasn't ridiculous like we saw a year ago. So I walked away thinking, that was a pretty good race.
Kirk
But
texted me
it's a
last.
bummer to wake up the next morning and find out the guy you thought won didn't win. So
Yeah, Kirk texted me and said, "Man, this truck race is something else." And soon
well, I
as,
think I texted you in case you're not watching. There's about 10 laps
Yeah.
to go, and I said it's about to get crazy.
and
10
no
laps to go.
no sooner did I flip it over to the channel. I was watching a live show.
There was the big one.
and literally it was happening as soon as I pushed in the button to flip it over to this channel. So the big one happened as soon as Kirk filled me in. I'd forgotten the race was on, to be honest with you, and because it was Valentine's Day, we were kind of doing other things, and I turned it on with 10 laps to left to go, and yeah, there was some pretty good bumping and grinding out there, so they say, because they were pushing at the end. But I thought that kid was going to win it. Looked like he finished third, but he ended up finishing second after they.
Gio Ruggiero.
Yeah, so he finished second after the disqualification.
We've seen him race some pavement late model events. We saw him race at the Snowball Derby, but he'd never been at this level before. But the guy looked like a seasoned veteran out there. I thought Ruggiero was really impressive.
Devin Moran won last night.
He did, and we're going to hear from Devin Moran
Right.
coming up in a little bit. We had him on Monday's Mostly Motorsports show, and he might be the hottest late model driver in the country right now. What do you think?
Ricky Thornton got into it with JD, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. Well, no, Bobby Pierce got into it with Jonathan Davenport. Ricky Thornton Jr. got into it with Ethan Dotson towards the end of the race.
With Ethan Dotson.
Yeah, so
Right.
the two big ones, RTJ and Bobby Pierce, had trouble last night. But Bobby Pierce was racing JD pretty hard down there, and do you think that Superman might been just a little bit upset with Bobby Pierce the way he threw that slider and cut Pierce off? He had to check up and
stuffed him
got
in
up
the
into
wall.
the loose stuff, and Shepard hit him, and that was that for Bobby. You think Davenport might have been a little upset with Bobby Pierce?
I think so.
He didn't say anything at the end of the race, but you could tell just by the way
The
he
body
slid up in
language.
front of him.
Right.
He wasn't happy with Bobby Pierce. But later on in the race, it looked like RTJ and Ethan Dotson were going to battle it out. And Ethan Dotson and RTJ got together and up into the loose stuff. And here comes Devin Moran, who started 8th, sliding right by. You think Devin was thinking, thank you very much? and he moved right to the front.
Well, I to be honest with you, I think that Jonathan Davenport is I think he's JD is. What do you think about JD getting into
Bobby Pierce?
Bobby Pierce. What do you think about that?
I just think it looked like a payback to me. But he got the best end of the deal, and Bobby Pierce got the worst end of it.
Right.
So, and Davenport looked like he was closing in on Devin Moran there. Do you think he said after the race, Davenport said that, give me 3 more laps, I think I might have had something for him. Well, the problem is there weren't 3 more laps. That was it. 35 laps, that's it. But Moran, certainly very impressive in the early season. You remember a week ago he won that $25,000 event up at Ocala. And then he starts off the week at a track that he's always historically done well at, Volusia Speedway Park. Struggled just a little bit earlier in the week. But he ends up the week, of course, there's one more night of racing tonight. Moran picking up the feature victory last night. So he's got 3 Lucas Oil wins and now a World of Outlaw win. And he's always good at Florida.
Right.
But Devin Moran really off to a good start, and he's running for the Lucas Oil late model title this year. He's come close the last couple of years. He almost pulled it off the last 2 years. Can he do it again? Well, he's now made a statement that Devin Moran is here to stay, and we'll hear from Devin here in just a little bit.
Devin Moran started 8th last night.
Yeah. So he had work to do. I mean, just think about that for a
Right.
minute. He had to pass Pierce, RTJ, and Davenport all started ahead of Devin Moran, and Moran was the one celebrating the victory at the end.
What do you think about Ethan Dotson?
He's had a strong run down in Florida this year. He's got a fast race car. He just needs to close out
the deal.
finishes, close the deal. One driver that's done very well at doing that is Garrett Albertson. He won on Thursday night, and he won the finale of the Sunshine Nationals when they were at Volusia a couple of weeks back. Garrett Albertson is off to a very good start this year, and he's got that one win on Thursday night. RTJ has got 2 wins. Now, they ran 3 features on Wednesday night. RTJ, Davenport, and Brandon Overton won those 3 races after RTJ won on Tuesday night. So you got RTJ with 2 wins, Davenport with 1, Overton with 1, Garrett Albertson, and now Devin Moran. So they've spread out the victories this week down at Volusia Speedway Park. Very fast half-mile racetrack. Got one more to go tonight.
Ricky Thornton picked up the win at Volusia.
Yeah.
How about that?
Tuesday and Wednesday, Ricky Thornton Jr. Are you impressed at RTJ? I mean, look at what this guy's done. You can't say that it isn't all about the driver with Ricky Thornton Jr. because you remember last year he started off driving for that SSI Motorsports team. Then they fired him in the middle of the season.
Right.
And then Kohler Motorsports hires him. Chris Madden comes in to help crew chief that car to the end of the season, and he still wins the championship. It's like he never left the first team. You know, he goes to a different team. Matter of fact, he raced another ride before he got with Kohler Motorsports and still won the championship. And then this year, he's got a whole new crew working on that car, but yet he's up there running up front and winning races. How impressive is that, what Ricky Thornton Jr. is doing? I mean, that's just driving talent, don't you think?
I agree with you. Ricky Thornton Jr. is probably one of the best drivers in the country. Would you agree with that?
In any form of racing, don't you think?
He drives sprint cars, midgets.
Yeah. He was driving micros at the Tulsa Shootout.
Micros.
Yeah. So, I mean, we talk about Kyle Larson and how versatile he is, and, of course, nothing more needs to be said about what Kyle Larson's accomplished, but Ricky Thornton Jr., is as versatile a driver as there is out there outside of Kyle Larson. No
Right.
question about it.
I think Ricky Thornton Jr. is probably maybe. Would you compare him to Kyle Larson?
No.
You think Kyle
Not
Larson's
yet.
better?
Well, I'm not going to place RTJ yet on Kyle Larson's level. But in
Until he jumps in a Indy car and
Yeah, we'll
almost
see.
finishes top 10 on his first try.
yeah, you go out and win a NASCAR Cup Series championship and finish in the top 5 of the Indy 500, and then check back with us.
I mean, they all are talented. We know that. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm gonna.
I'm
gonna,
not ready to say he's as good as Kyle Larson,
Yeah,
but he's under the radar good in the grassroots racing right now,
Right.
RTJ.
Bobby Pierce ended up running second in that race
In which one?
on Tuesday.
Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Pierce has been kind of up and down this week. He's going for the World of Outlaw Championship, so this was an important night for Pierce last night. For him not to get a good finish out of that last night, that's not off to a good start. He's, Devin Moran, he's going for the Lucas Oil Championship, so he wasn't racing for points last night. Neither is Jonathan Davenport. So, and we really don't know if Jonathan Davenport has committed to one side or the other. He's not really said that they're going to run for the whole Lucas Oil Late Model Series. A lot of these guys wait and see what happens in Florida before they make a decision. And since both series are off for the next 2 or 3 weeks, they've got time to decide which way they want to go. So, but if you're running for points like we know Bobby Pierce is, and you have a bad finish like he had last night, that's not off to a good start in his efforts to try to win. But you remember a year ago he was involved in the Tiregate situation. He played catch up all season long, still never got close enough to winning the championship last year in the World of Outlaws, because Brandon Shepard won that. But Brandon Shepard is running for the Lucas Oil title this year for
Right.
Rocket Racing. So still a lot of decisions yet to be made by some of these late model drivers or which direction they're going to go.
Mark Pierce listening in from Paradise, Missouri. Just so you know.
So this is Daytona 500 weekend, Scott. He watched the duels the other night. Do we learn anything about we're going to make some picks on the 500, which, by the way, you can listen live on Sports Radio 810 WHB Sunday beginning at 12:30. They moved up the start time of the 500 by 1 hour because they're forecasting rain late in the afternoon, so they want to get a early jump. So 12:30 is when you can listen to the Daytona 500 tomorrow on Sports Radio 810. But can you make a prediction based on the duels that we saw the other night? Bubba Wallace won the first and Austin Cindric the second duel. What do you think?
I think that RTJ is going to win everything.
Are you talking? Now we're getting back to late model racing.
Right.
What about the Cup side? What about who's going to win the Daytona 500?
Joey Logano. What do you think?
That's a good pick. Ford seems to have pretty good
the upper
effort
hand.
down. Yeah, I mean, Joey Logano, he's won the Daytona 500 once. He won that 10 years ago, 2015. But I'm going to go, Todd, you made it. I think you talked about Ryan Blaney last week, did you not? Yeah. I think that's an excellent
yeah, that's
choice.
who I had. I had Blaney and
He's
outside.
Logano's teammate.
That's right. So
Chase Elliott might be a
yeah,
contender.
we
as
talked
well.
about Chase as well on that because he had such a poor year last year and has already had a pretty good year this year. What I think is this race here kind of all comes down to if you're in the right place at the right time kind of thing. We all know how Daytona is. It's
the pile up at the end of the
Yeah,
race.
it's so hard to predict.
absolutely.
Who's going to be in the right place at the right time? How about Eric Jones, who they said that I think they got a little premature on the race call. Jones pulled down to the front straightaway thinking he'd won that second dual race, but hold on. No,
Yeah, they had that.
they threw the yellow before the start-finish line and determined that Austin Cindric had actually won that race. But I'm going to go with Eric Jones as a off-the-wall pick. What do you think about that?
Eric
Number
Jones?
43, Eric Jones. That's my pick. I'm just
Outside
gonna,
row 2.
it's
that's
easy to
not a
pick
bad
the
pick.
favorites.
You know,
It's easy to pick the
I
favorites.
agree. No, that's and he's got a good starting position, and we all know what's going to happen. You're going to have big wreck, and they're going to have shuffle everything. If it all comes down to don't make mistakes on pit road, you don't want to cost any amount of time on pit road because everybody. This is the beginning of the season.
Or speed like Kyle Larson did the other night.
I mean, it comes down. I think to pit road. Everything that happens on pit road, whether getting on and off, and whether the pits are clean or not. I think, like you said, everything else is just luck of the draw at Daytona.
O'Kelly's listening in from Central Point, Oregon.
Welcome.
Yep.
Denny Hamlin also got caught for speeding the other night. He's a 3-time Daytona 500 winner, so he's got a different crew chief this year
I
than
think
he had.
Joey Logano's going to win.
William Byron
That's
might.
a good choice.
William Byron's up.
He won last year.
Yeah,
he's the defending winner of the race.
He would be my second pick. So Blaney and Byron. I'll take the two Bs on those and see how it goes. But it is an hour earlier tomorrow, so if you had your thing set, if you set your clock and everything to start recording, it's going to be an hour earlier tomorrow. So just know that.
Yeah, today they got the ARCA race. That starts at 11 o'clock, and they got that on Fox today. And then the Xfinity Series race is like 4 o'clock in the afternoon on the CW network.
Yeah, that's...
Here in Kansas City, I think they would be...
yeah, they've been doing a very good job of advertising here in Kansas City.
There is a channel here in Kansas City that carries CW.
So I'm sure that's been all around the United States.
You can listen to it on Sports Radio 810 WHP
just
as
the
well.
Daytona 500.
Just the Daytona 500.
Daytona 500.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I believe that this year will be a little different for everybody to try to find where their races are. I mean, Kirk talked about it earlier. They're going to be kind of scattered among a bunch of different type of streaming broadcasts. There in the middle, Dale Jr. is going to be back on the Amazon. Isn't that right? Or is it Amazon or one of the streaming?
I think so.
Hey, Chris Yant says Ryan Blaney's my pick, and the dark horse is Chris Buescher.
There you go. So he's got
There you
two.
go.
He's got
Chris
two Bs
Buescher
as well.
won a summer race at Daytona a couple of years ago, and Blaney has also won the summer race before. So those are two really good picks.
Larry Waters is picking Ryan Blaney to win.
Well, I'm just going to go off the wall and say Eric Jones is going to get it done.
That's a stretch, Kirk.
And then he gets caught up in the first lap crash, and that'll be that, right?
Well,
That's the way that works
He's
out.
starting towards the front, so if you can keep out of that big one, then you're in good shape.
It's always interesting to sit down and watch the Daytona 500 because you just really have no idea what's going to happen in that race. I mean, that's just the nature of that kind of racing is just anybody could step up and pull that. I mean, look at some of the winners over the last 4 or 5 years. You had Byron last year. 2 years ago, you had Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who picked him before that race. You had Austin Cindric in his rookie year, in his very first race in his rookie season, won in 2022. And remember when Michael McDowell won? Who thought he was going to have a chance to win that race? So just a lot of different guys can step up and get it done.
Joe's picking Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Yeah. Well, he's done it before.
He's a good restrictor plate racer.
He is. He's won 2 races at Talladega. He won a summer race at Daytona, and he's won a Daytona 500, so he's a very good plate racer.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Devin Moran is going to join us next here on Track Talk. It's all brought to you by Sports Radio 810 WHB. Rod End Supply is the title sponsor to the show, and we can't thank them enough for being a great supporter of the Race Boys. Bob Douglas is a great supporter of the Race Boys, isn't he?
He is terrific. Of course, Rod End Supply is a Kansas City-based company known worldwide in the racing industry, and Bob Douglas been with us since day one, 25 years, so we appreciate the support Rod End Supply has for the Racing Boys.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Devin Moran is going to join us next here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll be back with more in a moment. Stay tuned.
Track Talk.
Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motorsports as well as industrial applications with many different types of products. Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products priced competitively. Whether you're racing at the circle track or drag strip, rock climbing, or going off-road, Rod End Supply has an assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
3 minutes, gentlemen, 3 minutes.
Don't miss a second of the NFL this season. This is Kurt Warner of Westwood One. Join our crew each week for the best in primetime NFL action. Monday night, Sunday night, and Thursday night football. Plus marquee games on Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Christmas, and more. Westwood One is the exclusive radio home for every primetime and postseason game. It's right here.
Brought to you by GEHA, Government Employees Health Association, on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Paid for client portrayal and endorsement. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results, and every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
After my car wreck, there was a lot I didn't know.
I do know. My team knows injury law. We can help you understand all of your legal rights so that you don't get cheated.
DM Law knew what to do and got me $500,000.
Mike's got this. If you've been hurt in a car wreck, call me. I've got this.
816-888-7500. Mike's got this.
Rebound Bidunga. Right back up and in.
Kansas City's home of the Jayhawks, March Madness, and the Final Four. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Harris inside. Left hand layup good. DeJuan Harris stuck with it and gets the lay-in for Kansas.
Saturday, Kansas faces Utah at 9 o'clock on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Brought to you by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City, BOK Financial, Miva Medical, and Aestheticare Med Spa.
ICON is seeking healthy men and women ages 18 to 55 to participate in a clinical research study at our facility in Lenexa, Kansas. Non-smokers or light smokers allowed. Women must be of non-childbearing potential. Volunteers must be available for one stay of 29 nights and 2 outpatient visits. Qualified participants may receive compensation up to $14,400 for time and travel. Call ICON today at 913-210-5900. That's 913-210-5900.
Race to savings at Menards for products to update your home.
1 minute.
Finds durability with gorgeous color. Dutch Boy's Platinum Plus is a paint and primer with a protective finish that guards against scuffs, spills, and stains. And when you apply Dutch Boy with the finest painting tools from Purdy, transforming your home has never been easier. Refresh your home today with paint from Dutch Boy. Plus, view our weekly flyer on Menards.com and race to savings on great deals.
Save big money at Menards.
For the past 60 years, Kansas City has trusted City Rent-A-Truck for all their work truck needs. Whether you're tackling a construction project, working on power lines, or just need to transport your crew, we have a reliable fleet of work-ready, on-demand vehicles to keep you moving. Flatbeds, bucket trucks, pickups, dump trucks, service bodies, and much more. We offer the widest selection of vocational vehicles in the industry. Visit us today at cityrentatruck.com.
Welcome back to Track Talk. It's all brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the Power Ride Midwest Lightning Sprints. Don't forget the Daytona 500. You can listen to it on Sports Radio 810 WHB as well. Kirk, we had a chance to talk to Devin Moran.
And he may be the hottest dirt late model driver in the country right now, and that's saying something with what RTJ, Ricky Thornton Jr., and Bobby Pierce has done over the last couple of years. But Devin Moran has posted 3 Lucas Oil late model victories. He's 5 points behind Jonathan Davenport in the early Lucas Oil late model campaign, but this week has been racing with the World of Outlaws after picking up a victory last night at Volusia Speedway Park. Earlier this week, we spoke with Devin Moran on our Monday Mostly Motorsports show, and here's a little bit of that conversation with Devin Moran. What a run you had outrunning Ricky Thornton Jr. and that move you made on Jonathan Davenport the other night. That's got to make you feel real good, the way that turned out.
It definitely does. I appreciate that. Yeah, to be honest, it was just they provided us with a great racetrack, and we just worked on our car all week long to figure out what we needed to do, and we just hit the nail on the head, and it all worked out for Saturday. So yeah, it was really cool. It was a lot of fun to race for sure.
You made one pass, getting by him on the bottom, and then you ended up getting around him on the outside. Talk about you were burning up the outside the other night. How about that?
Yeah, I finally just found a line where I could run the top of 1 and 2, and I had a little harder tire on, so I could really get on the gas really hard, and he was slowing down while I was speeding up, and it just all worked out, you know. Like I said, the track was in great shape, and we could move around a lot, and when we did that, it made for great racing, and just my car was good enough that I could maneuver. I could run the bottom and pass him. I could run the top and pass him, and it just worked out.
You know, it was surprising that nobody else went up to the top and ran that line that you were running. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I was, to be honest, kind of surprised as well. I knew a couple guys with the softer tires couldn't really do that, but some of the cars with the harder tires I thought would, and I think it was just a really tricky situation to run that top, and I watched enough videos to figure out exactly what I needed to do and how to watch it, and we just executed. So it was pretty cool.
That Ocala is a unique shaped racetrack. Looks like an egg-shaped racetrack. One turn end of the track is different than the other. How challenging is that to get around that racetrack?
It is literally like two completely different racetracks. And 1 and 2's obviously we're really, really sweeping wide and a little bit of banking on it, and you can just flog on it. Like, you can be wide open in 1 and 2, and then down the back straightaway is pretty fast there, really, for how little it is. And then you're all brakes and no gas getting into 3, and it's super, super sharp and really easy to overdrive. So, like, the exact opposite of 1 and 2. So it's definitely one of them deals where I feel like it puts the driver in control a little more of the outcome. And once you get a good rhythm there and start figuring out, it really, really benefits you, you know.
Hey, you've got 3 wins at Alltech and 2 wins at Ocala. Talk about those wins a little bit.
3 wins total, right?
3 wins total.
Yep. Ended up getting 1 at Alltech the final night, and then the first night at Ocala and the last night at Ocala. So just a great start to the year, and just a great way to get rolling, especially for my guys. They've been working their butts off, and to get a win kind of keeps their morale going since we've been down here for so long. So, they worked hard yesterday, then we watched the Super Bowl, and now we're at Volusia, new body, and car's in tip-top shape and ready to go.
The other nights that you ran out, not every night is a points night at these racetracks. You were able to throw out a race. One night, you parked it early. Just kind of talk about what happened to you earlier in the week at Ocala, or you just pulled it in because points were not a factor, right?
Yep. So the first 2 nights at Ocala was just show up in a race and kind of like what we're doing here at Volusia because we don't run the Outlaws. But the second night we actually had engine problems. We had a valve, dropped the valve. And we haven't had a whole lot of engine problems with either motor builder, and they do a great job, but just something out of their control that none of us could really help, just a parts failure that we're diagnosing and trying to figure out. So, just one of them deals. We did that, and it wasn't a points race, so we thought to ourselves, hey, let's not worry about getting the other car out. Just, to be honest, saves a lot of work on trying to get both cars fixed if we'd get one torn up and everything else. So we changed motors out and made sure this car was ready for the rest of the weekend.
Hey, you're currently 5 points out of the lead with the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series. Are you going to run that full time?
Yeah.
Yep. We're full time Lucas Oil again. We ran runner up the last 2 years in the points, so we got to try to get as many wins as we can this year and get a head start for the playoffs. And hopefully everything works out for us this year.
You've come so close of winning a championship each of these last 2 years. One turn, you'd have had it here a couple of years, but last year, very close. Your championship caliber with Roger Sellers and this Double Down Motorsports. Just kind of talk about how you were originally able to get together with this team, because this has really worked for you.
Yeah, it really has, and it's an all attributed to Roger and Double Down Motorsports. He's put this deal together for us, and he's done a great job. He's provided us with everything we've needed plus some And I've just got a great crew, you know. Chuck Kimball, my crew chief, this is our third year together, and then Dylan Klein and Corey Stewart, they're both on board again. So it's just like when you see some of them Cup teams, when they get a rhythm and get rolling, it's hard to stop them. And in our sport, I feel it's the same way. So we got a really good rhythm going, and we just got to keep going down that path. And if we do, I think we can have a lot of success this year.
Volusia is a very fast, high-speed racetrack. Just kind of talk about going into this racetrack. We watched the sprint cars there the last few nights. How you're going to be able to get around Volusia Speedway Park as compared to Ocala, which you're just on, and Alltech Speedway, which is a fast racetrack as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Volusia's a little bit bigger than Alltech and a lot bigger than Ocala, but yeah, I tend to have a pretty good track record at this place. We've won a lot of races here, and we've ran really good a lot of times here. So these Longhorn chassis seem to get around this place really good, and yeah, I think as long as we got our minds on the right things and make the right decisions all week, I think we could have the potential to have a great week.
You started 7th in that race that you won. You kind of worked your way up to the front, but talk about that a little bit, starting 7th in that race.
Yeah, and also working all through those yellow flags. You had a ton of yellow flags you had to manage through.
Yeah, to be honest, I did not even think that coming from 7th was going to be a possibility. You know, the winners were on the front rows every night, and it raced decent, but it wasn't like spectacular. And they did a great job with the track on Saturday, and it didn't matter where you started. You know, there was people moving all over the place, and yeah, just it worked out for us. We could pass really good. Like I said, the track was really good, and you could do whatever you wanted. So it just it was, like I said, it was a lot of fun, and yeah, it was cool to win the final night there for sure.
Hey, there was a little rough spot over there in turn 2, wasn't there?
Yeah, a little whoop-de-doo. I mean, I've been on much worse, so there was a little bit of character, but nothing to complain about whatsoever.
That Alltech Speedway, that did have some character. There was some pretty wild action on that racetrack, wasn't there?
Yeah, it's a great racetrack as well. You know, they were having a little problems with track prep. The first night rubbered a little, and then the second night was a little too wet, so there was a little moisture left in it, so it got a couple of character spots, but on Saturday it ended up being a really good racetrack as well. So it just proves when these guys give late models a good racetrack, we can put on a heck of a show.
Where are we at in late model racing right now across the country? How do you see the sport right now as we enter into the meat of the 2025 season?
I think it's going to be a great year. I feel like the racing's been spectacular. I feel like there's a lot of really, really good teams and a lot of great teams even this year. You know, I mean, Bobby Pierce, JD, Ricky Thornton are all just really, really strong right now. You got Garrett Albertson, Dalton Wilson, Nick Hoffman, some of the guys like that are contention to win every single night. So I feel like there's a lot more like disparity in all the racing. Like you don't know what's going to happen each and every night because there's so many good cars, and then you just throw Brandon Shepard in the mix with Rocket One. Within the next couple weeks, I'm sure they're going to be hitting on all cylinders as well. So we just got to keep our heads down and keep grinding because it's going to be a tough year with all this great competition. And like I said, if track prep keeps being good, I think we're going to have a lot of great races this season.
You know, Longhorn chassis is kind of the number one late model chassis going right now. Talk about them a little bit.
It's just a kudos to their hard work, you know. Steve Arpin and his whole gang, they worked their butts off over there, and they've really gotten better about consistency on the race cars. And we've got new car after new car, and every single one seems just as fast as the next one. So that's all you can ask for out of a chassis builder. And if they keep doing what they're doing, yeah, I don't see them slowing down anytime soon, I guess.
There's a little battle over shocks these days, too. Just kind of talk about the competition going on among all these different shock manufacturers.
Yeah, kind of the same thing. Like Bilstein is on a lot of the Longhorn cars, and that's who I run as my brand is the Bilstein shocks. And same thing, they've done a great job on just working really hard and putting them in position to have the best shocks in the business, and that's what they've done. You know, they've got a lot of good drivers on their stuff. And yeah, it's great to have them as one of our partners.
There you have it, Devin Moran joining us on Mostly Motorsports. That was a good interview, wasn't it, Kurt?
It was. And, of course, last night after we spoke with Devin, he won again. And that was probably the most impressive win last night, where he had to start.
He started eighth place.
Yeah. Had RTJ, Ricky Thornton Jr., Jonathan Davenport, and Bobby Pierce all starting ahead of him.
Jonathan Davenport started fifth.
Yep. As you know, as we pointed out before the interview, last night's race, it looked like Davenport was closing in on Moran there towards the end, but he just ran out of laps. But Davenport might have had the fastest car at the end of the race last night, but fell just a little bit short, so we'll see what happens tonight. You can watch the World of Outlaws finale at Volusia Speedway Park on Dirt Vision tonight. They've also got the big block modifieds up there. Do you enjoy watching those big block modifieds, Scott?
I don't watch. To be honest with you, they bore me to death.
They do.
Yeah.
Well, you know, they had a couple of pretty entertaining races earlier this week. A couple of guys were going at it. Matt Shepard won on Wednesday night, Alex Yankowski on Thursday, and Peter Britton on Friday night. He's an Aussie. These cars are pretty popular up in the northeastern portion of the United States, up in New York and New England. That's where a lot of these guys come from up there. But, yeah, I don't mind it. I prefer the late models and the sprint cars, just like you do, but
right.
I don't mind watching them a couple, 3 times a year. It's okay.
You know, the big block modifieds just don't do anything for me.
I'll tell you what I really like are the non-wing sprint cars, and they have the Winter Dirt Games up at Ocala Speedway this week. Did you watch any of that?
I watched the race right before we went on the air.
Kyle Cummins wins last night at Ocala Speedway. That's after Brady Bacon in a different ride, driving for Chris Dyson. He's not a full-timer on the USAC circuit this year. He's going to be more winged
sprint
410
cars
racing this year. But Brady Bacon comes up with a win on Thursday night. Justin Grant won on Wednesday night. And then they had 2 nights before that at Volusia. Logan Seavey, the defending USAC champion, was the winner on Tuesday night after Kyle Cummins won on Monday night. So we've seen a lot of different winners in the non-wing sprints. They'll wrap up tonight at Ocala.
I think Brady Bacon's making the right choice going 410.
More money.
More money. With the World of Outlaws and running the High Limit Series,
I don't think
there's a lot more money.
He's not picking one series to run. He's just going to run a true outlaw schedule and go where the money's at. So I like what he's doing.
Right.
So anyway, we'll see the final night of the USAC sprints up at Ocala Speedway tonight. And, you know, one other thing, the car count for the pavement racers at New Smyrna Speedway are shockingly low. They've not drawn a lot of cars for the pavement races at New Smyrna this year.
How many cars did they have down there?
They're only drawn in some of the late model divisions, 17, 20 cars. Some of the entry-level classes are running down there like a half dozen, 6, 8 cars in each of those divisions. Not sure what's going on at New Smyrna for the World Series of Asphalt Racing, but what used to be a very popular form of racing for the pavement guys, car count's not very good.
Right.
So I'm not sure what the answer to that is. Coming up after the break, we're going to hear from Kansas Speedway President Pat Warren. He held court on a Zoom conference call the other day talking about the season at Kansas Speedway coming up this year. And we asked Pat a couple of questions there about how Hollywood Casino's gambling and the sports book has affected NASCAR racing, some of the development going on around Kansas Speedway. The new Buc-ee's is going in out there, how that will affect everything out at Kansas
It's gonna be
Speedway.
crazy out there.
Let me tell you, that Buc-ee's is pretty popular all over the country.
Yeah, that's going to be a big deal, isn't it?
It is. That's
so
going to be a big
they're
deal.
building that right by Kansas Speedway.
And did you see the size of the American Royal as well that they're building out there? It's going to be monster size. That where the American Royal's being built at, that's where on that road. That's my dad's. That's where my grandmother and my dad. That's where my dad grew up as a kid and everything. Before my dad passed, I sent him a picture of his street. And so showed him. I took it down there and showed it to him and said, "Look what they're doing to your cornfield." And they're building big giant 8. The American Royal is going to be there because they've been having it at Kansas Speedway,
right.
and so they're building a permanent facility there across the street. And man, there's just a lot of stuff going on out there at Kansas Speedway.
I think Kansas Speedway is the best track on the NASCAR circuit.
Well,
the races prove that out. We saw the closest finish in the history of NASCAR last year. The racing has just been terrific with these cars. These next generation NASCAR cars are perfect for Kansas Speedway, and we've seen great racing out there. So
the great thing about Kansas Speedway is that they can run at the bottom and they can run at the top.
Yeah,
and
the progressive
they can run in the
banking
middle.
lends it to that.
They can run in the middle as well.
Yeah, and we've seen it out
Right.
there. I mean, so we'll get Pat Warren's comments about the 2025 season. The two big Cup events are in May and late September this year, so
right.
We'll get his thoughts about that and some other subjects coming up here in just a couple of minutes.
All right, we're going to take a break. Track Talk is brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the PowerRide Midwest Lightning Sprints. We'll be back with more Track Talk in a moment. Stay tuned.
Track Talk. Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motorsports as well as industrial applications with many different types of products. Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products priced competitively. Whether you're racing at the circle track or drag strip, rock climbing, or going off-road, Rod End Supply has an assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
2.5 minutes, gentlemen. 2.5 minutes, and your out is still 57:52.
Good deal. Thank you.
Service department just off I-35 in Santa Fe. Check out the latest lineup of Kia, including the spacious new Sorento, the rugged Telluride, and the first ever K4, each backed by Kia's industry-leading warranty. Visit OlatheKia.com or stop by today. Olathe Kia, expanding for you. Warranty is a limited powertrain warranty. See Kia.com or retailer for details.
At B&B Theaters, enjoy the way movies are meant to be seen on the big screen. B&B Theaters, headquartered right here in Kansas City, is your family-owned and operated theater. B&B Theaters has great entertainment for the whole family this February with films like Captain America: Brave New World, Love Hurts, Hard Eyes, The Unbreakable Boy, Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie, Last Breath, and more. Many locations across the metro, the big screen is the best way to enjoy the magic of the movies. Tickets, showtimes, and the chance to sign up for the free Backstage Pass loyalty program all online at bbtheaters.com.
Hello, I am fabulous.
Oh, you mean like Kansas Lottery's Fabulous Fortune Instant Ticket Fabulous?
I mean, like I speak 5 languages and come from old money fabulous.
Oh, well, Fabulous Fortune can lay some new money on you. 4 chances at $500,000 to be exact.
Talk more.
Fabulous Fortune also gives you a second chance at $500,000 with the Play On app.
I think I've been out fabulous.
Really?
No.
Okay, play Fabulous Fortune. CKSLottery.com for details.
1 minute.
For lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results, and every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
I got hurt in a car wreck. Give me one good reason why I should call DM Law.
How about 3 great reasons you should call us? 1, it's easy. You can hire us today on your phone, or we can come to you. 2, it's fast. We can start helping you today. 3, the results.
DM Law got me $331,000. Mike's got this.
I've got this.
816-888-7500. Mike's got this.
The NASCAR Cup Series.
The Great American Race is underway. Logano and Michael McDowell on the front row.
Heads to Daytona International Speedway.
There they go, the big one in 3. Look at basically the entire pack is collected.
Where one of the sport's greatest traditions continues.
Racing down the short straightaway in the Daytona 500. Blocking on and they're crashing.
It's the Daytona 500.
Coverage begins Sunday at 12:30 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Welcome back to Track Talk. It's all brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the Power Ride Midwest Lightning Sprints. Kirk, Donald said, how about Jade Avedisian finishing third last night at New Smyrna?
I'm going to take his word for it. The results that I see, I didn't see her listed in last night's results, so unless we're missing something from the results that we get from my race pass, I'll take his word for it. But Jade has been running the pro late models down at New Smyrna this year, learning the ropes in pavement racing. Do you think Jade is you think she should have stayed driving the dirt midgets instead of going this quickly over to the pavement side? What do you think?
I'm not for sure. I think that she'll do very good in the pavement side of things.
Yeah, it's just going to take her a little bit of time to adapt.
It's going to take.
I mean, what is she? She's only 18 years old, so
right.
She's got plenty of time to learn it. I think she'll do well.
I think she'll do fine.
Pat Warren is the president of Kansas Speedway. A couple of days ago, he held a Zoom press gathering, and we joined in the conversation, and Pat was asked questions about the great racing at Kansas Speedway that we've seen over the last few years with this next-gen car and some of the development that's going on around Kansas Speedway. Let's listen in to this Zoom conference call with Kansas Speedway President Pat Warren.
No other track on the NASCAR circuit has put on a better racing product over the last handful of years than the crown jewel of Wyandotte County. With coming back for 2 more dates this season, what are some things that you're most looking forward to in terms of, the weekends themselves as we move forward into May and then September?
Well, I'm looking forward. We just finished construction on the Ally Apex Club last year before the September race. And so I'm looking forward to that, sort of getting its sea legs and for fans really being able to enjoy that. It's a new club on the Turn 4 side of our Sweet Tower. I think by May, our fans will probably see dirt moving and construction for the new Buc-ee's that's going in along I-70 across from where our offices are. Most people in Kansas City are more excited about that than anything else that I have to talk about. So I think it's important to mention. And then just generally, the excitement that the race weekends bring is always fantastic, and we're looking forward to that. And as you mentioned, the quality of the racing's been phenomenal.
Pat, just kind of talk about the evolution of Kansas Speedway with this new race car that's been so great for Kansas Speedway. The quality of the competition because of this new race car, in my opinion, the best racetrack in the country right now. Just how do you foresee the response from the fans over the last 3 or 4 years, the closest finish in NASCAR history last year? What's been the response of your fan base now as we've seen what's happened over the last few years?
Well, I mean, obviously they realize the quality of the racing, and they've seen it, and especially for anybody who was there last May. But, the evolution, when you talk about the evolution of how we got here, it goes back to 2011 and the repave and the progressive or variable banking that we did. Ironically, the guy who stood out through, if anyone remembers, that was one of the hottest summers on record. We had like 115-degree days in July, and the guy who managed that project for us is a guy named Bill Braniff. Bill left the company in 2019. I ran into him last night in the Atlanta airport, returning from Cleveland for a job he was on at the Cleveland airport. And we were talking about that weekend and the exciting racing, and I mean, obviously he was part of that design team, but he deserves a ton of credit because, I mean, literally you talk about blood, sweat, and tears going into the track. It was Bill Braniff and the time he spent that entire summer literally standing with his then BlackBerry behind a paver, checking the asphalt and doing the work and making sure that repave was perfect. And then with the next-gen car, specifically designed to try to improve the racing at 1.5-mile tracks, the competition team hit a grand slam. And so I wish I could take credit, but I really didn't have anything to do with it. It's our design team with design and development based here in Daytona Beach, Bill's hard work, and then the competition team that, like I said, did a phenomenal job with the next-gen car.
The other thing I want to ask you about, Hollywood Casino has been such a big impact to Kansas Speedway. There's the sports book over there now. A lot of talk about gambling in sports and where that is heading with NASCAR, your relationship with Hollywood Speedway, the sports book. How's that impacted Kansas Speedway over the last few years?
Not a ton directly. Our sport is not the epicenter of sports gambling, for good or for bad. I think part of that's the complexity and variable nature of the sport. It's harder when you've got 40 cars on the track. It's harder to make the bets and do some of those things. Sports gambling in general has been very positive in Kansas, and it's bringing more traffic to the casino. And so that's been great. And they're using that and leaning into it for things with our events. But that, the casino really operates as a separate business and entity. We're related and they sit on an island inside of our property. But I would describe them as a great neighbor and partner more than anything else. And the sports gambling piece in particular really hasn't had a huge effect on us.
Hey, Pat, I just want to ask you about the Legends and how that has transpired with Kansas Speedway now and how that has affected the whole growth of the Speedway. The Legends has been there for a long time now. Just what is the progress of everything around Kansas Speedway with what you got going on right now?
Well, I can tell you that everyone I've spoken to in the Legends is very, very excited about the 5 million visitors a year that Buc-ee's is forecasted to bring. And that's not one of those economic development pie in the sky numbers. That's a real number that we're going to see in the area. What's going to benefit both the Legends and our fans is the infrastructure improvements that will occur at I-70 and 110th Street or Speedway Boulevard, where we're adding adding extra exit lanes and doing some other things to accommodate the day-to-day traffic that will obviously help us as well on race weekends. But we're working with the Legends and Buc-ee's to try to figure out how to get those visitors to understand what sits north of the track and north of Buc-ee's, so that hopefully those businesses can capture some of that traffic as well. But we've got great relationships with everybody in the Legends, and we really always have.
You've had the American Royal Barbecue there at Kansas Speedway over the last several years. I know that they're building new facilities not far from the racetrack. Talk about the American Royal and your relationship with the barbecue there.
We've been the host of the barbecue, I think, for 7 years.
Yeah.
Took 1 year off for the pandemic, I think. But it's a great event. It's a perfect fit for the track. Their ability to leverage our infrastructure and the size of our footprint really works out well, and I think the teams really enjoy it. They're building their livestock facilities across the street from the track, and they have plans to build a festival ground, sort of catty corner from the track, in, I think it's Bonner Springs. I'm not sure which state is or which city occupies that. It would be northwest corner of 118th and State. If they build that, there's a chance the barbecue could move there. I don't think they're far enough along to know if that's a good fit or not, but it's certainly a possibility. But we've had a great relationship and look forward to it for years to come.
Listen, Kansas Speedway is one of the very best racetracks, 1.5-mile racetracks in the country.
I think it is the best 1.5-mile racetrack in the country. And there's no other kind of track that these new NASCAR Cup cars race on than the 1.5 miles, especially at Kansas Speedway. I mean, the racing, over the last 3-4 years, you can't complain about any of it. It's been great.
Right.
And so I think the biggest news that Pat talked about right there was the impact that this new Buc-ee's will have in the area. They're going to improve the exit off I-70 to 110th Street, which is going to help even more the traffic flow getting into the races. Don't you think? I mean, they're going to make a lot of improvements in that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that exit off of 110th, that's just a stop sign, right and left.
Right.
You know, that'll be all completely changed when all that's done. You know,
they're going to put lights in there.
Well, yeah, that'll be a whole new, that'll look completely different. So, yeah, right now, that exit does get used and on for the race weekend, but man, the drastic improvement that's going to happen after that, when that's come, that's just going to be another. We already talked about how good it is to get out of Kansas Speedway. It's so fast. I mean, it's going to be so much faster.
Yeah, we've got an interview with Matt Covington coming up here in hour number 2. We're going to play that and try Track Talk is brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the POWRi Midwest Lightning Sprints.
And Hour 2 is exclusively on Racing Boys at our Facebook and YouTube pages.
Right. All right, thanks everybody for tuning in. We can't thank you enough for doing so. We appreciate everybody that tunes in to our show each and every day. Thanks everybody for listening in. We'll talk to you next week right here on Track Talk.
Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motorsports as well as industrial applications with many different types of products. Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products priced competitively. Whether you're racing at the circle track or drag strip, rock climbing, or going off-road, Rod End Supply has an assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
Planning your next group event? Make it unforgettable at Rendezvous Climbing Gym. Our event space is ideal for team.
All right, we will see you next week.
Rock and roll, brother. Careful.
All right.
Parties. Whether your group is small or large, we have private.
Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motorsports as well as industrial applications with many different types of products. Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products priced competitively. Whether you're racing at the circle track or drag strip, rock climbing, or going off-road, Rod End Supply has an assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
Here at Specialty Sportswear in-house, we do all of the screen printing, all the embroidery. We do some vinyl. The other add specialty items like your pens, magnets, notepads, calendars. You can actually buy that, build your business to make it larger. We have the largest screen printing process and the largest embroidery anywhere around in the area. We can do stuff all the way from your school clubs to sports teams, a professional look in the office. If you can imagine it, we can do it for you.
From the circle track to the drag strip to off-road racing, Rod End Supply has been keeping their customers at the front of the field since 1989. Whether you need rod ends, tubular rods, or specialty products, Bob Douglas and his Rod End Supply staff are always ready to help you with your needs. You can visit them on the web at rodendsupply.com or call them at 800-284-2902. That's 800-284-2902. Rod End Supply, keeping you at the front of the field.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Sabres 33 RLP. Let's go take a tour. Coming into this animal, we're going to take a trip back here to the feature of this trailer, the deck. Check it out. It's awesome. It's 4 by 10 feet. You can dance on this thing. Boom! Check it out. It's pretty nice. And then coming to the back of this thing, you got a 75-inch TV. It's huge. 60-inch fireplace. It's nice and big, keep you warm. Then you got an ottoman that converts into a table, if you will. Maybe some TV trays. Then this hide-a-bed that I'm pointing at, it comes out and folds into like a king-size bed with storage in the corner for all your linens. Great little addition to the trailer. Your dinette, of course. Then you're gonna come around to the kitchen with the tic-toc sink. It's got the spritzer and the waterfall and all that stuff. Residential style refrigerator. It's got the microwave and the oven that's residential as well. Big old pantry over here with motion detected lights, coffee bar, and then coming up to the bedroom, you'll have the bathroom first, nice and spacious with a seat in it for them ladies. And then we got the king size bedroom with washer dryer hookup. I'm telling you, this is a home run for a couples coach. Come and see me, Kyle Walker.
When Steve died, the outpouring of love was amazing. These dollars had come together to support us, and we realized, no, we didn't want to use them for us. We wanted to use them to help others.
The foundation has done so much for so many people. It helps any family that has somebody, whether it be a crew member or one of the drivers, that get hurt. We can help them to get through the situation.
I was injured in a non-wing sprint car accident that broke my neck and left me with a spinal cord injury. I was in the hospital 8 months, and that got really, really expensive, so having that extra help to help push me and my family forward was a big deal.
Yes, Steve's death is the reason the foundation exists, but it's Steve's life and it's the lives of racers everywhere is the reason we're able to do the work we do.
So we have a lot of folks come in interested in traveling for work. This is going to be a great option. Your Coachman Northern Spirit 2565 front kitchen. You have a nice wraparound full front kitchen here. Huge windows up top. Big 12-volt refrigerator. Lots of windows on the sides here. Great natural light coming in. You have your big TV over here on the swing arm bracket so you can kind of see it from any point in the room. Also have your bar stools here. Sit and eat your breakfast. In the bedroom, you're going to have a king-size bed in the slide-out. Lots of storage underneath that. Washer, dryer, hookup. Tons of storage with the drawers. Then you got your full bath across the back. When it comes down to a camper that you can get for 6,500 pounds and be under 30 feet long, this is an absolute home run.
Race fans, the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum is open 7 days a week, year-round, for you to come in and check out all of the wonderful race cars on display in the museum. And our online store at sprintcarstuff.com is open 24 hours a day for you to check out everything that we have in stock for sprint car fans. Whether it's for a birthday, anniversary, or Christmas, sprintcarstuff.com has it all. That's at the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum in Knoxville.
Go harder, faster, stronger with Rod End Supply. Whether you are running industrial, farming equipment, or a race car, Rod End Supply has the assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products that will help you lead the field in performance. Our superior design means our rod ends last longer and perform better, giving you the edge on the track and saving you money. Contact Rod End Supply or order online today at rodendsupply.com. We don't just sell them, we race them. rodendsupply.com. Serving the racing community for over 30 years.
Hey everybody, this is Larry the Cable Guide. You are listening to RacingBoys.com, and if you're not, I swear to you, get in your truck or do something, but get the hell out of this country because you don't belong in it if you don't listen to these fellas.
It's time for America's most unique motorsports show, Track Talk, brought to you by Rod End Supply and the Power Ride Midwest Lightning Sprints. Here are the racing boys, Scott Traylor and Kirk Elliott.
Welcome back to Track Talk. Hour number 2 exclusively on YouTube, Facebook, and RacingBoys.com. Kirk, we've been doing this a long time, haven't we?
Yeah. And, we've been, it seems like as long as this winter has been.
Hey.
And Todd Surprise just delivered some bad news from the weather front this next week. Todd, I don't like what you're saying.
Yeah,
it's going to get cold again, right?
My wife told me to quit watching the weather. That's what she said. You need to. She said you need
back
to,
up.
She said you need to stop watching that weather. And I said I think that's what happens when you get old.
Right.
You just your interest kind of go, and then it's like, well, this is something I daily look up to. But yeah, if you have anything to do, if you're here in the Kansas City Midwest part of the area, and especially here in the metro area of Kansas, get out and get it done like right now. Because
you better get it done today because it's gonna be freezing.
Yeah,
snowing.
Well, they're talking about it rain, maybe turn into mist, then turn into maybe some icing over, and then the coldest temperatures we've had already all year long.
If we haven't had cold weather enough.
Yeah, the cold we had some.
It's going to get colder.
30 below zero wind chills.
That's what they're saying.
Frostbite within 30 minutes of exposed skin outside. So. Like you said, guys, we know it's a different world now. You know, everybody's got a phone and stuff. But man, throw an extra blanket or a pair of. I've got an extra pair of gloves in my car.
A blanket.
I've got another hat in the trunk. You know, I've got some stuff just in case because you just never know, man.
You never know when you're going to break down.
Yeah, or you may see somebody that's broke down who's trying to fix their car and give them. So like I said, man, this is let's get through February. And let's hopefully we can. I mean, they're down. I cut out the part in that interview, episode 347, guys. If you want to go back and watch these interviews from our podcast last week, but both guys, Matt Covington and Devin Moran, both stuck it to the Racing Boys last week, talking about how hot it was down there, and they had to have the air condition on, and he was saying, Mel, I'm glad you give us a call because it's given me a chance to get out of that hot sun. And I said, thanks a lot. So I cut both those out of that interview because I didn't want to hear that on a day like today.
Hey, Kirk, Marie says, my electric bill was the worst I'd ever had.
Absolutely.
You're talking about up there at the farm.
Well, we got fuel oil up there, but anybody who heats on electricity, and I do at my place here,
right?
But I'm on fuel oil at the farm. But it's expensive either way. But electric, have you seen the electric bills lately?
It's crazy.
I mean, it's crazy.
It's really rough. And like you said, we don't normally do it this far late into February. You know what I'm saying? We're talking. We got 7 full. We got another full week of this below freezing temperatures and well below freezing wind chills. I mean,
well, what is this? 15th of February?
Yeah, I mean,
we got 2 weeks and it's March.
What is it supposed to be like? 30 below?
Well, the wind chill is going to be 30 below zero. We're going to have temperatures of actual 10 degrees below zero in February. I mean, it's just like you said, guys. It's
I love summertime.
Yeah, keep an eye on your pets. Don't
if I had it my way, I would live in California or Florida.
I would Australia, somewhere.
Australia?
Florida sounds great right now. Why aren't we there today? Yeah. We should be in Florida right now.
Maybe
right?
next year
right.
we
oh well,
Kirk.
Maybe next year.
If we move to Florida, Todd Surprise would move with us.
Nah, I'll probably wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
Florida's got its downsides too. Hurricanes. You want to live down there when hurricanes come flying through?
I don't.
It's great this time
or live
of year,
in California with earthquakes
and fires and.
I mean, every place has got its downside.
Well, here's what
and its upside.
Here's the mantra that you have when you're in Kansas, when you live in Kansas. We don't have earthquakes. We don't have alligators, and we don't have tarantulas. So, I mean, you just have to keep telling yourself that over and no alligators, no earthquakes.
You might have to dodge a tornado or two.
Yeah, well, and we get pretty good warning. I tell people all the time, you get pretty good warning on these tornadoes now. I mean, you every once in a while you get a pop-up here and there, but we definitely know when it's coming, right? I mean, we know. But trust me, guys, don't take this stuff lightly this week. It's going to be rough out there. It's just
bundle up. That's all I can say.
Hey, Kirk, how much do you spend up there heating the farm?
Well, it's a few $100s here and there. Hey, it's what everybody else is paying. It costs money to heat your house.
You keep it down to 50 degrees up there, don't you?
Yeah, good. You don't want the pipes to freeze, of course.
Right.
So hopefully we get through the next week and don't have to worry about that.
That's right. And then it'll be race season, and we'll be all back to.
I look at it this way. Before you know it, it'll be spring,
and hot,
summer.
And we swimming again.
It'll be here quick.
It'll be fine. But yes, guys, get out and get your stuff done now. I just stepped outside between breaks, and
it's got colder as we speak.
Yeah, we've already dropped 3 or 4 degrees because this morning. I made a little snowman outside when I got inside, and I wouldn't have made a snowman if it was this temperature out there right now. So
you made a snowman out in front of our house?
I sure did. I put it right there on your steps out there. It ain't a big one. It's just it's a snowball size one, but I wouldn't be out there doing it right now. It's a little too chilly. I told Kirk, I know that we don't do the chili bowl or anything no more. We don't experience the driving out of town and dealing with all that stuff, but I think I would much rather be down in Florida dealing with that just for a weekend, maybe watching a little racing here and there and sitting on the beach than what we're getting ready to deal with next week, Kirk.
Well, I've got my refrigerator loaded, and I'm going to be sitting back and watching all the stuff from Florida here.
Absolutely.
What did you buy for your refrigerator, Kirk?
We got the groceries all ready to go for the racing in the next couple of days, so we're ready to go.
Did you do anything special for Valentine's Day yesterday, Scott?
I did. Me and Deidre, we celebrated Valentine's Day yesterday.
Yeah, I made dinner, so she didn't have to cook dinner, and we didn't want to go out because it was already.
That's what you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
On Valentine's Day.
So I made dinner, and I also baked a strawberry cake. How about that? I baked a cake.
How about that?
My wife's she likes strawberry, so I was informed though not to buy the strawberry icing next time though. That was too much. The strawberry cake with cream cheese icing next time. So, but I made dinner and had the cake ready, and cake was almost. If she's listening, she'll probably tell you I'm lying. The cake was almost ready when she got home. It wasn't quite ready, but it was close.
You know what we did? We stayed home and ate
That's what we did.
leftover chili.
There you go.
Last night.
Watch TV and.
So you ended up watching a movie or something last night instead of the.
We did watch
racing.
the movie.
I watched racing all night.
I was watching live PD until Kirk called me and reminded me.
Deidre doesn't like to watch racing on TV.
Yeah, in person.
She likes being there in person, though.
Right? She always enjoys being there in person. But
well, you know, being there in person to watch a race is better than watching on video and TV. It's always better. You know, racing is one of these sports that's always better in person. Now, you can't say that with other sports. You know, we've talked about this before.
Absolutely.
Football, basketball, you can see the whole game on video.
Yeah. Baseball.
Just as though you're there.
Yeah.
But racing is not that way. You got to be there to really experience
baseball,
it in full.
I tell everybody, man, baseball to me, the way they've enhanced the home watching baseball on TV. I mean, if you have to be a baseball fan anyway, but it's there. When you go to a game, you realize how much you're missing, Kirk. You know what I mean?
Right,
you don't know. You'd be like, how fast was that ball, or how hard was that pitch, and that kind of thing. And you don't get that when you're there. You're just. And so you're right. When there's only a few places and racing's one of them, man. The sights, the smells, the feel of the racetrack.
Well, racing is one of those sports that video and TV just can't capture everything.
Nope.
Hey, Paul said 2 weeks in Florida was amazing.
I heard the weather was as good as it's ever been in Florida.
Right.
That got a little cool last night.
Yeah, they had a cold snap a couple weeks ago, when they had the iguanas falling out of the trees. But they're back up and going. Florida's Florida again.
It's like summer-like weather for most of Speed Weeks.
Yeah, no, I was looking at some of the posts down there, and you see people in T-shirts, and so it's good when they're not wearing hats and T-shirts.
Hey, the other day I watched a guy walk into Price Chopper.
I did,
and
Shorts.
he was wearing shorts,
and
it was freezing cold outside.
I've seen that a couple of times. I was at the Chili Bowl, and I saw 2 or 3 guys walking around inside the Expo Center like it was summertime. They had shorts on and T-shirts, and
I saw a guy
you'd
yesterday.
think it was the middle of July.
I saw a guy yesterday. I went to pick up some a card and some flowers for Valentine's Day, and I went into Price Chopper, and this guy come walking in, construction boots, shorts, T-shirt, and a ball cap on. And I actually,
crazy.
I asked him, I said, man, I go, you're a young man. I said, I don't know how you were able to walk around like that. I said, I even showed him. I'm wearing I had long underwear on and a heated jacket. And that old boy was out there in shorts, man.
Have you noticed the older we get, the colder we get?
Absolutely.
Does our blood thin out? Because
must thin out.
I've noticed that the older I get,
hey, Todd, are
it's
you
hard
the same
to stay
way?
warm.
Oh, I've always been cold because I've always had hardly any fat on. I've been thin. But after my chemo and my radiation, my cancers, I get so cold that it gets in where I'm shivering, where I feel like I can't catch a breath. Like,
right.
The feeling you get when you dive into like a pool and it's ice cold.
Right.
And that's what I get now. So I don't go anywhere without. I'm layered today. Look, guys, I'm wearing. I've got a vest. I've got a thing. I got a long sleeve shirt. I'm wearing pants, and I've got long underwear on. I just. I will not be cold. I'd much rather be a little too hot. I could peel off these layers if I need be. But
unfortunately, those 2 kids, they passed away. They fell through the ice.
Yeah, I saw that. It was terrible.
That?
Yeah, that was another thing I was going to mention today too, guys. We're going to have
stay off the ice.
Yeah, we're going to have a cold snap here coming up, and that ice is going to freeze. But it is definitely not worth the risk. When I was a kid, we played on the ice a lot. But as well as I do, guys, the snow, it would be cold for a whole solid month.
I think they were 8 and 9 years old.
Yeah, I saw that.
Very sad.
And so that was another thing I was going to say. Keep an eye. If you see any kids messing around down by a pond or something, go ahead and be that guy.
And tell them to get off damn ice.
Yeah, get off the ice, and then maybe call somebody too, because it's not worth it. Like you said, there's other things those kids could be doing. And I mean, I was one of those kids, and I'd have told you to, go sit on it if you would have told me to get off the ice, but it's way too dangerous. I saw that, Scott, the other day, and that's just bad. So
right.
Yeah, we don't need that today. So yeah, I know one thing that I saw, I think Lakeside had to, or Carb had to postpone. I think they postponed their meeting, Kirk. They were supposed to have some meeting today, I saw on Facebook, and I believe they've postponed it because of the weather. So
yeah.
You might check your social media pages if you had anything scheduled today to make sure it's not been canceled.
Now, we're 3 weeks out from the Carb Hall of Fame banquet. That's March 8th. That's going to be at the Mayan Center out in Bonner Springs, same place they had it last year. So we're 3 weeks from the big event of the Carb Hall of Fame.
Kirk, should we put some general information on our website? Like just general basic information?
About what?
About people like Carb?
Well, we can share that. You saw that on Facebook? We could probably share that over to.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it right now. What I'm pulling up, but I'll pull up this little thing. So, like Kirk was saying, they're 1 week away from the awards banquet, and you can make your
Lakeside Speedway Awards banquet.
And so that's going to be at the Shawnee Town Hall,
noon to 3.
That's right.
Is that today?
Next week.
Next week.
February 23rd, and that's going to be $20.
Lakeside Speedway.
That's right. And
is
so,
that an odd time to have it?
Yeah,
noon to
but
3 on a Saturday.
I think so. But also, what I'm starting to think though is that gets you out of there before it gets dark. That way you're not driving home in the dark and stuff. Get you that way your whole
the Shawnee Town Hall.
Yep.
In Shawnee,
and
Kansas.
It may have also had something to do with the amount of time where they could only get that thing booked. Too. So, but phone number 913-299.
Oh, that's a driver's meeting.
Oh no, I'm looking at awards banquet February 22nd right here. See above.
Awards banquet February 20. Okay, the driver's meeting is the next day.
Yes, sir. And
Sunday,
registration.
February 23rd from noon to 2.
That's right.
That's it.
And phone number again 913-299-9206, and that'll get you all your information. But yeah, I saw a post last night that said something about one of their meetings being rescheduled, and so I'm going to try to pull that up. But yeah, I believe they had, what did they say, May 9th. I saw one of my friends. It's going to be your only chance to see sprint cars this year here locally.
That is High Limit.
Yeah.
Coming in. That's the same weekend as the NASCAR Cup weekend out here at Kansas Speedway.
So it'll be a busy weekend. And
so High Limit, Friday, May 9th.
So if you want to watch the big boys this year, this is your only chance. I mean, Scott, me and
I'm glad they're not going to go head-to-head up against the truck race.
Me too.
Which is going to be on Saturday night. I'm happy to hear that.
I agree.
Right.
That was the only downside of a year ago.
Well,
they were running a High Limit show the same time they were running the truck race at Kansas Speedway.
Yeah, we couldn't do both. We were trying
we
to
didn't like to see that.
But yeah, like you said, that race, I think tickets are going to go fast for that race because it's your only chance to see these guys. You know what I'm saying? There's no other racing around town.
Well, they're going to be
US 36, right?
High Limit's going to be at Lake Ozark Speedway in the middle of or late June, in the middle of the week, and then that weekend at Lucas Oil Speedway. So they're coming back to Lucas Oil Speedway. But yeah, in this area, that's going to be your chance to see any kind of high level sprint car racing, because the World of Outlaws, closest place you're going to go see the World of Outlaws here is probably Knoxville.
Right.
Yeah,
and I think they're going to be at 81 Speedway in March, late March.
That's just hard to believe, that you're only going to, because usually you could pick and choose. You might be able to watch 360 racing in town. You could maybe pick your World of Outlaw race, and then and now we're down to just
there's no racing out to I-70 Speedway, and I'm not sure we'll see another race at I-70 Speedway.
Why do you say that, Kurt?
Well, for a couple of reasons. They
They're not shortening up the racetrack.
They were looking at shortening up the racetrack, and that's been put on hold right now. And with everything that's going on with the drag strip, and what the future lies there, what's going to happen with the dirt track at I-70? I don't know.
Do you think they'll take out the dirt track and make it paved?
Well,
they need more pits for the drag strip.
The thing about it, the drag strip is owned by different people.
Right.
You got Chris Payne and Steve Bailey on the dirt track side, and you got Scott Higgs, who came in and purchased 150 acres for the drag, but they need that whole facility to stage a major event. So what's going to happen with that? Right now, the future of I-70 Speedway dirt track is, I'll just say this, very uncertain.
I'll say this. We've tried to reach out to a couple people to bring them on, and we still haven't been able to get anything because I think they don't know. So that's probably where,
it.
Nobody knows.
Chris Payne is the problem, isn't he?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, what – he's the one that kind of put a stop to it all.
Right.
So we'll see. But right now, there's no racing scheduled at I-70 Speedway. We got a Power I-410 race on the schedule for later in the year, but right now,
the only thing on the schedule out there on that facility is the drag race. You can go on their line. They've got
a lot going on at the drag strip.
Yep, it's all updated. They got all their dates and all the information. So, like you said, I do know that they will be racing out there this year.
They still have their 2024 schedule up.
Yeah, on
I-70 dirt track.
Yeah.
Right.
No updated schedule for 25. So I mean that we're sitting here. We don't know what's going to happen with that racetrack. But I'm concerned that will we see another race on that dirt track at I-70 Speedway? I don't know.
That would be sad to see that racetrack go away, wouldn't it?
Well,
it's a great facility.
The fact that
beautiful facility.
It went so long being a dead track, and then they went so far. I mean, as well as I do, guys, tracks don't ever come back. It's rare to ever bring a track back from the dead. We played those videos. We saw those with the trees growing up in the infield and everything going on. That. Right. I mean, I just don't think for a minute.
Especially after more than a decade.
That's what I'm saying. And then you get it up. And what they raced, 2 seasons?
I-70 Speedway was the best in the 90s, wasn't it, Kurt?
That pavement track, yeah. I mean, it was one-of-a-kind facility. You raced there.
Hey,
you know all about it.
I know all about that. To be honest with you, when you went out to I-70 Speedway, when it was pavement, you might see something you never seen before, right?
But it's going to be more known for drag strip now because the future of drag racing at I-70 is very bright. I'll just put it that way. Drag racing, no problem there. And I think we're going to see a national NHRA event back in this area in the next couple of years when they get the facility up to where they can handle that event. That's in the future. I would say that you can kind of count on that. We've been given confirmation of that, Blake Housley and some others, that they're not going to bring in an NHRA national event until they're ready to stage one of those events, and right now they're not quite ready
Hey,
yet
Todd, that was
that.
pretty good that you pulled up that I-70 Speedway video of the Craftsman Truck Series race out there.
Yeah, this is this video here is the top 5 crashes from I-70 Speedway from the truck race.
You could put up that video that you made.
Yeah, I'm going to see if this is number 1.
They had the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series from 95 through 99 at I-70 Speedway. Scott, we remember those races out there. First year of the Truck Series was 95.
Man, that was
and
a big
probably
wreck.
One of the most memorable wrecks out there was when Bob Keselowski flipped his truck.
Todd made the greatest video of all time. What year did you?
That was the second. That was the second year. Here we go. This had been 12 years ago. So this had been the first year I worked with you guys. And I made sure Scott, I called him a couple times. You sure these people all are okay? Because I ain't putting a video out there of somebody passing away. I mean, I was literally worked like 2 weeks with you when we started. I edited this thing on an old TriCaster. That's how old this is.
I don't think we ever had a fatality out there, did we, Scott? We had some really bad injuries.
No, to be honest with you, a guy bled to death one time out there. He did.
But after all those,
he hit the bank on the inside. You know where the pit road went across? He hit that inside, and he bled to death.
Yeah, this video we're watching now is that
we
video.
had some spectacular fires.
Yeah, this is the video I made here, and like you said,
man,
you can still pull this video up. It's gotten quite a few views, but
that tells you how long ago that was. KY102 is
like you said,
on the banner.
And this video,
the midnight 95.
Yeah, and obviously some of the video quality is, I had to stretch some of it and shrink some of it down, and it, like you said, some of these crashes in here, I took the liberty of adding some. I mean, there's some obvious.
There was just some horrific crashes at I-70 Speedway, and to think that one fatality you're talking about.
Yeah,
that was Aaron Daniel right there.
Yeah,
John O'Neill was involved in a bad crash out there one time too.
Yeah, we got that video.
Two crashes.
That video is on there, and actually, you can hear the press or the guy on the intercom saying, or the guy on the mic talking to the infield, "Hey, that's John O'Neill upside down. That's John O'Neill upside down."
He was on fire.
Yeah.
You remember they had the foam barriers.
Yeah, that was
next to the.
Look at there, Kirk.
Yeah,
there's the foam barriers right on cue.
You remember that when Jody Ridley launched over the foam barriers outside of turns 3 and 4 that time?
Yep, he got some altitude, didn't he?
The foam barriers wasn't a long.
Nah, they made more of a mess.
They didn't really work.
They made a mess, that's for sure. The cleanup on those, not just at I-70, I'm talking about anywhere.
This before Dr. James Sicking thought of the safer barriers that you see.
They were doing anything they could. But, yeah, this video, it's a 10-minute video of nothing but.
Don Morant right there.
Yeah, it was... it's just lived on in our memories. I-70 Speedway, we'll never see the likes of that again around here.
I
listen,
couldn't believe how many.
To be honest with you, I think they need to make that a pavement track right now.
I don't think that's going to happen, Scott.
You know how much all these crashes would cost? Oh my gosh! You know how much money that all would be costing?
That's Randy Ainsworth right there.
I tell people all the time, this video. It doesn't do you. When you see, it just keeps going. That's the thing. I just kept telling people
it was like that every Saturday night out there.
There was not a
major crash. Yeah. I don't think there was a week that went by hardly that a race car wasn't hauled off with wreckers on both ends of it.
Right.
That was a pretty regular occurrence.
Here's the thing. Not one video is being shown twice in this thing. So that just tells you how much footage I had. Right? We're looking at like a 10-minute solid video of nothing but crashing, and not one of them's repeated. I do a couple rewinds to let you see what happened in the crash, but I didn't repeat any of these crashes, a second time. Once you've seen this is so. It wasn't a shortage of B-roll.
What is that? What is that, Todd?
What's that? The name of it?
The name of it.
Yeah, it's called Racing Boys I-70 Wreckfest Decade of Carnage, and it's got 32,000 views.
And through the from the early all the way through the 90s, the crowds out there were terrific. People drove in from 3-4 hours every Saturday night to come to I-70
this
Speedway.
Crash here is.
That's how unique it was.
It was.
People would drive in for 3-4 hours every week because they didn't see this kind of racing locally. So, the crowds were terrific.
Here's where we're going to start
90s.
seeing some of the bigger.
Hey, that's Carver right there.
Yeah, this is
Rick Carver.
Rick Carver.
Yep.
Just brutal, man.
Yeah, it was a pretty special place. No question about it. Now it's going to be known for drag racing.
We're only halfway through this video, guys, so I'm just letting you know, like I said, if you want to watch it, you can go back and watch it and share it with people. There's some music in there as well. I'm surprised that the YouTube still hasn't taken the music down. That music's still being played on the...
What music did you play on that, Todd?
I'll pull up some of the...
Texas Hippie Coalition?
Remember, you picked one of the songs because it was about...
That video's been up there for a while now.
Oh, yeah.
Not blocked.
It's 3 songs long, but here's the audio that I...
Oh, man. Just so you know, that was a horrendous fire right there.
Yeah, I was out there when that happened.
I know it.
Tony Walls had set quick time for that event down there.
It webbed his fingers together.
Oh, man.
You can see he's on fire there in the infield, and
that was scary.
He's down there rolling.
That was absolutely frightening. And he walked out of that.
Yeah, that's, like you said, that's just brutal, guys.
We've never seen bigger fires at a racetrack than what we witnessed at I-70 Speedway.
Yeah, it's just pretty damn crazy. And like I said, I'm making these videos, and every couple minutes I call.
That's Ron Hartford right there. Hey, watch this. Ron Hartford walks out of that car.
Yeah, you see him walking out.
You see him.
He's right here. Comes walking out of there. They're spraying him as he's walking out.
Those fire extinguishers just couldn't quite keep up.
There he is right here. They're pushing him to the ground right there. And then this is the other crash.
That was Tony Walls, wasn't it?
Man, this was the one. I'd never seen this much fuel and fire sprung out on a track. That's a whole corner.
And Scott, you and I were both there. We witnessed this thing live.
Yep.
As it happened. So it's
it looks like a war video the way it's shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
right
because it's.
Hey, let me tell you, back when I-70 was pavement, they used to get 2,000 or 3,000 people in there every night.
I mean, people would drive in from hundreds of miles away to watch.
Here's how I ended it, the video, with the lonesome tire driving down.
Because you know what, people that came every Saturday night, Scott, you know this. They knew that they were going to see something they'd never seen before.
Right.
And they were never disappointed because usually they did see something they never saw before.
And we want to give the shout out to Jeff Eller.
And the other big memory is Carl Edwards driving your truck to the World Cup victory. He just went into the Hall of Fame last week.
Right.
And I'd never seen anybody
hey Todd,
drive
show that
I-70
belt.
Speedway harder than Carl Edwards did that day.
There it is.
Show that belt.
Yep, it's up there right now. So yeah, that's the belt right there.
You have video of that race?
I do.
Yeah, we talked about trying to get that thing over and moved it over to some kind of digital form. But
Carl caused a wreck to start the event, but he comes out the winner.
We better get to this Covington interview. It's pretty long.
It was Nate Bunnell and some others weren't very happy with Carl that day.
To be honest with you, Nate Bunnell and myself were arch enemies in the Charger division. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
All right.
You beat him more than he beat you, didn't
you?
Hey, I beat him a lot more than he beat me.
I thought so.
Hey, this interview with Matt Covington, it was almost 30 minutes long. We ended up talking with Matt a little bit longer. I only put in, 20-some minutes of this. So if you want to go back and listen to
we better get to it.
That's what I said. We got to get to it. So if you want to go back and listen to the full one, podcast, episode 347 is what it was.
Matt Covington is the only ASCS regular that's stuck around Florida. He's racing this weekend at Southern Raceway with the USCS, and he had a third-place finish last weekend with that group down at Hendry County Speedway, and we spoke with Matt Covington earlier this week And here is just a little bit of that conversation.
Hey, Matt, you run third the other night. Talk about that a little bit.
We had a good car. Honestly, we struggled Thursday and Friday. They had a practice Thursday. We raced Friday. Tough surface to get a hold of. It's the sand. It's sand like Volusia, but it's a lot powderier, and the track was kind of flat, kind of small. It was I've never really seen a cushion quite so powdery where you could just blow through it. If you kind of had to just ride your right rear right on the edge of it because it was real easy to blow through it. It was a real tricky track, but I enjoyed racing on it. It was fun, and we ended up getting our car figured out and got good for Saturday. Had good speed all Saturday, but actually I was talking to my crew, Steven, and I had one of my sponsors, Dale Wester from the Dallas area, was down here helping us out, and they were like, man, we've never changed torsion bars so many times in a race weekend. And I was like, well, sorry guys, it took me a little while to figure this one out.
So Matt, I know that you're going to run full time with the ASCS National Sprint Car Tour this year. You've been so close to winning the championship. Talk about that a little bit.
We've been close, and I'm glad to be back doing it again. I mean, I have enjoyed over the years. I mean, part of why I've probably done it so long. I enjoy racing with the ASCS. I enjoy racing the 360s. It's a series I feel like is going on the up and up, and I just hope that we can keep expanding our schedule to get the reach the places like we used to back when you were following us around all the time, Scott. I want to go back to Washington and Pennsylvania and Florida more often, and back to Arizona. There's a lot. I want to travel out more, and the series had been kind of going the other direction with that, and it hopefully I think with the World Racing Group behind it, if anybody can help expand our horizons back to a coast to coast series, that's what I'd like to see happen, and I think we're making steps in that direction, but I'm happy with how it's going, and I'm glad that when we weren't sure what was going to happen with ASCS. You're talking to a guy that's pretty invested in 360 racing, and wasn't real sure what I was going to do. So I mean, I'm glad that World Racing Group stepped up to help keep it going, and glad to be a part of it.
Talk about the World Racing Group. I think that was a plus when Emmett sold that to the World Racing Group. What do you say about that?
Yeah, I think it's for sure. I mean, it's a plus for sure. They had a lot more manpower, a lot more social media outreach, it seems like. The one thing as I get older, I hate the races that run later and later at night. And now I feel like we have enough manpower at the racetrack, or we can start trying to get these races done by 11 o'clock. And, when I was younger, I didn't really care. And as I get older and I feel like I need 8 hours of sleep every night, I appreciate that when we get done at 11. And, I think they're doing a good job at that. They're, Cody's doing a good job. Lonnie, we got our own photographer, follows us around all the time, social media guy. They got plenty of hands, which is something that, before when Terry had it there those couple of years, he didn't have a lot of hands, and so that's the biggest difference I see right off the bat. And those guys, they're serious about it, real professional. I think when we start doing that, I believe the horizons will expand again.
And the exposure on Dirt Vision, that's a big impact too, right?
Well, yeah, and I left that out. That is a big impact. People, and even supporters of mine, they enjoy watching the Dirt Vision. They really like Dirt Vision, and that's so now when we weren't on Dirt Vision, that was kind of a topic that we would talk about with some. A lot of my supporters are out of state and they have real businesses they got to run and don't get to come to the races that often, and they depend on the streaming service and when it being on Dirt Vision, now they can watch the World of Outlaws, and they get to watch the American Sprint Car Series, and that seems to be going real good for me. I'm definitely happy to be on there, and so far my supporters are saying nothing but good things about that.
Wing 410 sprint car racing is really surging right now. That's going in a direction where a lot of money is being placed. You see a lot of guys running full-time 410 wing sprint car racing. Where are the 360 cars right now? What's the future with 360 wing sprint car racing?
Well, can't tell you that for certain, but I've seen it kind of change over the years. I mean, back in 2009, like when I first started running ASCS, racing a 410 where I was from just felt like it was impossible. I mean, there wasn't any 410 racing around us at all, and that has changed for somebody in my area. Now there are options where a guy could get his feet wet in a 410 and then maybe try to pursue that. But back when I first started, I mean, that ASCS National Tour, $5,000 to win, $500 tow money to show up to every race. I mean, it was tough to beat that if you're a guy from Tulsa, Oklahoma. The level of sponsorship that I had, a guy would have to put together to run that is different than trying to run the Outlaw Tour going coast to coast back then. 90, 100 races a year. It's tough, and to run the ASCS schedule, I can have one crew guy. If I was going to run the World of Outlaws, or probably any 410 series, I needed probably 2 or 3 crew guys, and so then now you're talking about salaries, and that's a pretty big number that a guy's got to come up with in order to have 3 crew guys versus being able to do it with 1 crew guy. And to me, that's the biggest hurdle for myself to maybe pursue that direction, to go 410 racing, and it's tough to come up with another $100,000, So when you do go 410 racing, things like that change. You're just putting more miles on the truck, more laps on the motor. You got to rebuild the motor sooner. Your right rear tire's a little softer, so you're probably not gonna get as much life out of your tires, so your tire bill goes up a little bit. The cars are a little faster, and so you're about to maybe your parts even wear out a little quicker. I mean, it costs you more, and then that's not even talking about the manpower difference, which what I believe is the biggest expense. But 410s are fun to race. They're fun to drive. They feel. Sometimes I tell people I think it feels better than a 360. You get a little bit lighter motor. It's got a little bit more power, a little softer tire. You think your 410 can do things your 360 can't do, but I really enjoy racing the 360s. I enjoy racing the 410s too, but I've raced 360s for quite a while now, and I really enjoy racing with the ASCS group. And maybe one of these years I'll be able to pull off the championship. But just being out there to put it all together, just to be out there and to race it all, I feel like I win the championship every year.
Hey, we're rooting for you, but I know that you can run the 360 motor about 20 sometimes, and with the 410 motor you can only run it about 7 or 9 times. How about that?
Well, I mean, and that may be true. Every engine builder probably has a little bit different opinion on how far they want to take it or whatnot, and some of it depends too, what racetrack you're racing at. If you're running with the Outlaws, say when they go down to Texas and go to like Kansas, some of those tracks. If you're racing on 1/4 mile, 3/8 mile slick tracks, I don't see why I can't get 15 nights out of one. I've done it before with the Charlie Fisher motor, and then that's a real solid, real confident, really confident piece. I felt like one time we were taking our 360 motors 30 nights, and Charlie was like, maybe we ought to back that down a little bit. But that's how confident we are in the pieces that we're getting from Charlie and James Fisher up there in Ohio. But if you guys racing at Knoxville every week, then yeah, Scott, you're probably right on the money. 7 to 9 nights, something like that. And then I think the engine builders, probably differ a little bit, this or that. But on a deal like that, it's better to be safe than sorry. The way it's so hard to get parts now, that's really the biggest deal. Whether it's the crank or the block or whatever. I've had this conversation with Charlie before, like, hey, man, if you think you're going to blow that thing up, you shut her off right now because we're 3 months out on a crankshaft or, whatever it is. So I know engine builders are probably definitely leaning more to the conservative side just because of the difficulty in getting parts right now. And it's been that way, it seems like, for a few years now.
It seems like pistons and crankshafts and rods are the problem to get those motor parts of?
Well, and myself, I only have 2 Fisher 360s. That's all I got, period. So which is not very many motors to even run our 50 race schedule, on top of the extra stuff that like I'm running down here right now. But at the same time, we're really confident in our the durability that we get out of our Fisher motors. But for a guy like me, I only have 2. Like if I was to blow one up and it tear the crank or the block or a piston, something that they don't have on the shelf that we're going to have to wait for, that could really put me in a struggle, in a hurry.
At Volusia Speedway Park, you made the feature all 3 nights, which is saying something. I mean, the competition level down there.
And I held my breath the whole time, hoping that thing would stay together, because you talk about a track that's got to be hard on a motor. I couldn't believe that it impresses me more all the time. I was already can't believe how some of this stuff, parts and engines, stay together with how they get treated out there on the racetrack, that kind of thing. And then you go to a racetrack like Volusia, lightning fast, and the car's winged down the whole time. The track's banked. You really are not getting off the gas. I think we ran 30 laps on that Saturday night race. I was pretty impressed that stuff stayed together as well as it did on something like Volusia. When they say that's the fastest half mile, it may be. Somebody probably need to get the speed clock out, but it is definitely amongst them.
So you're flat-footed all the way around that racetrack, huh?
The majority so. I mean, guy slides in front of you, you're not just going to run into the back of him. But for the most part, you try to stay pretty pedal down.
All right, the National ASCS Tour kicks back up in late April. Where are you going between now and then?
I'm down here with the USCS Series. I'm planning on running their whole winter heat schedule. So we ran at Clewiston last weekend. We'll head back up to Pensacola for 2 weekends in a row. And then I can't tell you the dates for sure, but I know we're going to be in Hattiesburg, Mississippi a weekend, and Columbus, Mississippi a weekend, Loxley, Alabama one weekend, and I can't remember the town, but the racetrack's called, I think it's Old Number 1 or North Alabama Speedway, and I can't remember the town. I should remember the town. I just had a bad experience at that track one time. If a guy has a very long truck and trailer, there's only one direction you want to pull into this racetrack, or it will rip the back door of your trailer off. I know that because it happened to me, and then I think they were telling me it happened to Greg Wilson. You'd have to ask Greg Wilson about that, if it was actually him or not. But supposedly it happened to another guy too. So if a guy is going to show up to that North Alabama track, you might talk to Terry Gray or Jeff Willingham, one of the touring regulars with the USCS Series, and ask them which way you need to pull into the racetrack.
That Henry County Speedway, you touched on that a little bit earlier, kind of a sandy track. Was that just one of those racetracks where guys that's had a lot of laps around that track had the advantage over this past weekend?
I think so. I mean, like I said, I was telling you, it took me 3 days, 2 days of racing on that track before I stumbled. I want to say before I figured it out, but I think the better thing to say is before I stumbled on something that seemed to work for Saturday. And like I said, I had good speed all day Saturday. Before that, it was tough to figure out. It was definitely a different approach to setting the car up than what we're used to. A guy seeing, like some clay, like dirt, something like you see at Knoxville or around Oklahoma or Missouri, that kind of thing. This dirt was super powdery. It's super slick from start to finish. It didn't matter if it had water on it or not. It really hard to get a hold of, but it was a fun track. I would go back again. Other than trying to clean all the sand out of your hair and ears and car and toter carpet and trailer floor. Other than that, enjoyed it, and it is a tough track. And the guys that had raced there before did, they came out of the gate fast, and they were good. I think Tyler Clem, guys that I'm not super familiar with, that raced down here. I think there was a guy, Mark Rule, Jr. and Tyler Clem were fast all weekend, and I think they're familiar with the track. But like I said, it was fun. It was challenging track. If it was guys never been there, I think you'd learn something about your car before you left the weekend.
Mark Smith won there on Saturday night. He's a really good racer, isn't he?
Mark Smith's a great racer, great guy. I like those guys. Witherspoon, they got a great thing going. And Mark's a good driver, driving a good car, and he's a guy that when you see him pull in the track, he's a guy that you're gonna have to contend with. And glad to brace with him. I'm down here to get faster to run full time with the ASCS Tour, and I need fast guys to. I need the Mark Smiths and the Sam Hafferteps or the Blake Hans and to be down here and to kind of test where we're at. I mean, sure, we like to win the race or whatever, but if it's not a good, if Sam and Mark Smith, there's not some guys that are comparable speed wise that we don't learn as much about our car. And so down here, it seems like we have a number of fast car. Davey Franik's down from Pennsylvania, or New Jersey. Scotty Seal was there last weekend. There was a lot of fast car. Colby Thornhill came down from Washington and drove Chris Stiver's car, and actually they came right out of the gate fast. One of the fastest. Thursday night was a half a second faster than anybody there. Maybe Tyler Clem and the locals didn't need any practice, so they weren't there Thursday. Don't hold me to that, but so there was a lot of good competition there this weekend, and I think a lot of that will stick around and run the rest of this winter heat thing. So it'll be a good test. That's what we're down here to do, is make sure I get comfortable. And like I had arm surgery, my elbow surgery over the winter, and I'm still working the soreness out of that, and so that's part of it too. Just trying to get me right and try to get the car right, and try to do all that before April, and it'll be a successful trip.
You've had some arm surgery. I know that you've done that many a times.
Well, and actually, now that I had the surgery on my elbow, I'm not counting any of my hand surgeries even as a surgery. This elbow thing, I don't know if it's just because it's your elbow, it's sensitive. This one is a tough one to overcome. It's I'm 2.5, 3 months out on my surgery, and we're still working the soreness out, and I'm actually making a speedy recovery.
You have to go through pretty extensive. You have to go through pretty extensive rehab,
the way
right?
they described it to me, they had to scrape the muscle off the bone there on the inner part of my elbow, and took like a $50 size piece of bone out. And they said it was a pretty invasive surgery, I think was the word that they used, and it translated to me like, it hurt like hell.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you know? But it seems to be working. When I bend my arm and my hand would go numb, and it's so they take that bone out to give your nerve more clearance. It actually kind of moves your nerve instead of being like going around the back side of your elbow. On your arm, on the inner side of your arm where your elbow is, you kind of feel like a little knot there, and your nerve goes around the back side of that knot. And that's basically what they just took out of my arm. So now my nerve kind of goes like kind of more on the side of my arm, so it doesn't get tight when my arm's bent. So if I can keep my hand from going numb while I'm driving the race car, I'll be more than happy.
You're going to be at Southern Raceway in Milton, Florida this week. What do you know about that racetrack?
I'm real familiar with the racetrack. I've raced there personally 3-4 times. My crew guy that I used to have named Matthew Howard from the Kansas City area, Scott Trailer probably knows him. He actually drove my car one year. His mother had let me borrow their motor during the season, and my biggest sponsor at the time really liked Matthew, and then Matthew did an excellent job working for us there for a couple years, and so we decided we were going to take him to Southern and let him drive my car on the last race of the year. Kind of a give back, and I think his parents they paid for the fuel and this or that, so it was a good deal for everybody. And we took Matthew down there to race, and he ended up winning the race. He put it on Mark Smith and then all those guys. And I think the race paid $10,000 to win. This was 2 or 3 years ago, and I want to say the race paid it was $8,000 or $10,000 to win, and that kid won it in my car, and and it was and I was the crew chief, so I feel like I know the track really well. It's either that or Matthew just had a hell of a driving performance, which is true, but hopefully my car setup's decent there too.
Matthew's a pretty good guy.
Yeah, he's a pretty good guy. Pretty good driver, too. Not a bad crew guy either.
So you'll be racing, what is it, Fridays, Saturdays, Sunday, and...
We'll be racing Friday and Saturday this weekend, and then we actually just stay right there and do it all over again the next weekend.
And Matt Covington started 10th and ended up 9th last night down at Southern Raceway. That race was won by Davey Franick with Lance Moss and Jacob Allen running a 360 race last night. He ends up third, Danny Smith fourth, and Dale Howard the top five. But, it looks like, Scott, that Covington is the only of the ASCS regulars that hung around to race with the USCS this weekend.
Right.
I don't see anybody else in the field that would be Jason Martin was there. I'll take that back. I see he was in the field last night, but other than that, I don't see any other regular ASCS drivers. So they'll be at it again tonight down at Southern Raceway. So no video that I can tell. I couldn't find out anybody who was providing any live video of that.
USCS?
If they did, I couldn't find it. So maybe listeners could help us out. We might be able to locate to watch that tonight, but I didn't see it.
Right.
Last night. Hey, I'm looking at the hour-by-hour forecast here at Daytona. That ARCA race is supposed to get the green flag at 11 o'clock today on Fox. That's not looking too good right now. At 11 o'clock, there's a 50% chance of rain at 11 o'clock this morning and a 40% chance of rain at noon. And ARCA on Fox, that's going to be a big deal.
That's a crash fest.
Yeah,
it's a crash fest, but it's a big exposure for ARCA to have that on Fox.
Yeah, now it
doesn't look like that's going to happen now.
Yeah, they won't stick for the delay on that. They'll move that over
Network
to
TV. They'll move on to their next event.
Yeah, so that kind of sucks.
And the reason why Fox is scheduled to carry the ARCA race is because the Xfinity race, all those races are on what they call the CW network.
Yeah.
And that race gets a green flag at 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Now that's probably in question as well.
And well, the forecast looks a lot better for later in the afternoon.
Yeah.
The rain chances are around noontime down there.
So ARCA get pushed all the way to Monday probably if they get rained out.
At least it'll probably get delayed.
Yeah.
But will it be on Fox? I don't know. We'll see what happens. So and then tomorrow.
You're not happy with Fox, are you, Kirk?
I'm not happy. I'll get into that here in just a second, but I just want to say tomorrow's forecast at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 71% chance of rain at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. This is why they moved the start time up earlier. But I'm thinking now, will they get it all in before it starts raining, even though they're starting an hour earlier?
It'll probably be halfway.
They probably should have started 2 hours earlier.
I agree.
I got a little bone to fix with Fox and the way they covered the end of that second duel the other night. It left, I'll just say this, at the end of that episode where we didn't know who really won that duel race, we were all confused. And I was frustrated because we didn't see the wreck as it was happening. When they were coming to the checkered flag, and Eric Jones and Austin Cindric were side by side to the checkered flag, and Mike Joy says, "Oh, wait, there's a wreck," but we couldn't see it. They didn't show it live.
Right.
And so at the end of it, Eric Jones pulls his car down on the front straightaway like you do when that's where the winners go.
He run up to get the checkered flag.
And so he crawls out of the car, and Mike Joy's saying, well, for the first time since 1967, the 43 has won a race at Daytona, and Eric Jones starts to walk up to grab the checkered flag, like they hand it through the fence. And,
right.
And, oh, wait, this race is not over yet. They had to walk that back. Oh, Eric Jones didn't win. Maybe
Right.
we ought to just wait until the NASCAR declares who the winner is. I thought they jumped the gun just a little bit, but I was more frustrated we didn't see the wreck live as it was happening. With all this great camera angles and split screens and so forth, that they didn't show that. I was a little frustrated by that.
Right.
But it was just very confusing and very frustrating at the end of that. And if that happens at the end of the Daytona 500 like that, boy, you're really going to see upset people. But anyway, I'll just go with that.
We're so lucky that we have Kansas Speedway out there in Wyandotte County, because it was the closest finish ever in a race, a cup race.
And you'd think that Fox would have plenty of practice with close photo finishes. They had the
Right.
3 wide at Atlanta last year. They had the race at Kansas Speedway, and Fox should be well
On top of
practiced
it.
on this. But they found a way to kind of screw it all up the other night. So I was kind of frustrated by that. I don't think Fox's production is all that good to begin with. I think NBC does a whole lot better job with their overall production. But I was just frustrated by the way they handled that whole situation the other night. They didn't tell everybody right away that the yellow came out before they got to the checkered flag. And they should have known that right away. And why aren't we seeing the same video that NASCAR's looking at when they try to determine the winner? Shouldn't we be eyeing what they're looking at? The angles were off, and you couldn't really tell right away. So anyway, let's just hope that the production for the Daytona 500
is a lot better.
I'm not counting on it, but I'm hoping they do a lot better job.
All right, thanks everybody for tuning in to Track Talk. It's all brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the POWRi Midwest Lightning Sprints. We want to thank our guests, Devin Moran, Pat Warren, and Matt Covington today.
And Monday, I guess we'll have a couple of guests on. We don't know who they are yet, but it depends on what happens tonight, right?
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. For Todd Surprise, for Kirk Elliott, I'm Scott Traylor saying thanks for joining us here on Track Talk. Again, it's all brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the POWRi Midwest Lightning Sprints. We'll see you next week right here on Track Talk.
Go harder, faster, stronger with Rod End Supply. Whether you are running industrial, farming equipment, or a race car, Rod End Supply has the assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products that will help you lead the field in performance. Our superior design means our rod ends last longer and perform better, giving you the edge on the track and saving you money. Contact Rod End Supply or order online today at rodendsupply.com. We don't just sell them, we race them. rodendsupply.com. Serving the racing community for over 30 years.